Hi, I'm Andy Yerkes, and you're watching the podcast where nostalgia comes alive. It's Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. Roll it.
Welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, the podcast where nostalgia comes alive. Since July of 2021, Jake and his friends have interviewed professionals in the worlds of acting, directing, writing, puppeteering, and many more. Who will they be chatting with in this week's interview? Find out in this Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where nostalgia comes alive. Have you here with us? Thank you for joining. As always, I'm your host, Jake Duffenball. With me today, as always, our co-hosts Chris Bixby and Matt Bingle. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Doing good. Hello, everybody. How are you, Jake?
I'm doing great, Matt. Thank you for asking. What do we have for today?
Today's special guests are a pair of guests. We haven't had a pair of guests on in a while. They are a writing and producing team. You may remember some of the shows that they worked on, including All That, Keenan and Kel, KaBlam, and they've also written for both of the Good Burger movies, including the one that just came out a few months ago. We'll talk all this and more with our special guests. Please welcome Kevin Kopelow and Heath Seifert. Welcome, gentlemen. Happy to have you here.
Hey there.
Hey, thanks for having us. Good to be here.
Of course, happy to have you here. So to kick this off, even though I kind of introduced you a little bit, could you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well,
You go
we
first.
are writer, producer, showrunners that have been a writing producing team for about 30 years now.
Yeah, it's 94.
Since 94. We had our first paying gig as a team was as writers on All That season 1. We got our break at Nickelodeon, and we did All That, Kenan and Kel, the Good Burger movies, as you mentioned. Did a lot at Nickelodeon, and we've been somehow managing to stay afloat in this business ever since.
That's lovely. That's lovely. So, what were your childhoods like, and how did you grow up before writing and producing?
Well, my childhood, I watched a lot of television, and there wasn't as much television back then either. There was only like 3 stations, It was like so.
And it was only black and white TV back then, right?
No.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
But we did have antennas on our TV, believe it or not. Have you ever seen that?
Ears.
But yeah, I was really into television. It really didn't feel like it was a possibility because of the limitations there. It just didn't seem like there was any room. And so I just kind of, as TV expanded, so did my hope. And then I ended up getting in it.
Yeah, I grew up watching a lot of TV as well, and would always, imagine myself writing episodes of shows, and was a huge fan of Saturday Night Live and Twilight Zone and a lot of the classic sitcoms. And I would write sketches on my own, like in elementary school, and kind of ask the teachers if we could use the auditorium to put on productions. And so from an early age, I sort of had that bug, the writing.
Really nice.
Awesome. So I'm kind of curious, how did the two of you meet and start writing and producing together?
Well, we met through some friends of ours. We had mutual friends, and Heath's a little younger than me, so he was in high school and I was in college. And Heath used to work for at a pizza place.
I had a really odd job. I worked 1 hour a day. I worked at lunchtime at a place called DeVita's Pizza, and it's because everybody from my school would go over there and eat lunch, and so it was busy 1 hour a day. The rest of the time, the place was empty. And I was like a TA in fourth period, and I had PA in fifth period. So I was always getting to DeVita's first, getting my food, and then I was always hanging out last. And the guy noticed that, and one day he just asked me, "Hey, how would you like to work here and help out for this 1 hour a day? I'll pay you $20 cash and all the food you can eat at any point." So I took that amazing job, and through that, the best part of it was I ended up meeting Kevin because he was friends with the guy who worked at the pizza place.
Nice.
Yeah, and then we ultimately, after I guess a couple of years, we lived together, and then we used to write then we also worked whenever each one of us had a job, while we were in college or whatever it was, we would get the other guy hired if there was an opening, so whether it was at a pizza place or production company, whatever it was. And so we ended up working together, originally writing, because back in the day, people used to have to write, college papers and college essays to get entry. So we would write them for them. And we started teaming up and charging people, other waiters or whatever it was, to do their work. And then we got paid. And then we started working together and collaborating. And it just, next thing you know, we're writing television shows.
Yeah, we
Nice.
worked a lot of production. We worked, Kevin worked at a game show company, and we had, I worked for the Playboy channel for a while. Like, we did a lot of production jobs, and I don't think it's the way a lot of people break into the business these days, but we were probably about as close to working your way up in this business as you can do.
Yeah, we didn't know anybody in the business really. I certainly didn't have any family members, or it just was kind of unheard of, but we just took production jobs and, kind of impressed the people we worked with and got to write for them, luckily.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the earlier projects you both wrote for was the dating game show Singled Out. Can you talk a little bit about working on that?
Well, yeah, actually, the woman who created that show, Sharon Sussman, uh, she's the one that was sharing an office with. They were working on the Singled Out pilot for MTV in the same office as they were working on the All That pilot. So she kind of got wind of that and told us, hey, you guys would be perfect for this show. I know how you guys like sketch comedy. You're living together, you're writing together. So she's the one that suggested us to them. And we went in and subsequently got that job. And then after the first season of All That, we went over to her show while we were on hiatus. We didn't know if we were coming back or not. And we started working on that on Singled Out.
Nice.
And I had met Sharon and so had Heath at a production company earlier. We were all kind of PAs together at some point until she actually created that show. So it just, it'd be nice to
It was a very fortuitous meeting between Sharon Sussman and the people who were getting all that off the ground. And
yeah.
the offices sort of overlapped for maybe a week, and that she happened to talk to the guy who said, we're looking for writers, and she said, you have to meet Kevin and Heath, they're hilarious. And we were really lucky that happened. But we went in, we got an interview to go pitch sketch ideas for All That, and we came up, I think we went in and pitched 35 ideas.
So many.
In hindsight, we know now that you should probably pitch 3 to 5 ideas and keep the meeting short and get people excited and leave them wanting more. But we just bombarded them with idea after idea. And, pretty much just about everything we pitched in that first meeting ended up on the air in the first season. Maybe a small handful of them made it on in season 2.
That's nice.
Awesome. So, what were some of your favorite All That sketches to write?
Oh, wow. Well, I used to like, we're very partial to Good Burger, of course. I mean, it was one of the
Classic.
first things we ever wrote.
Which is now a huge, phenomenon
Yeah.
with
I mean, it's funny, when we wrote that,
Yes.
next thing you know, we're sitting in like a pop-up, 15 years later, they're having a pop-up Good Burger restaurant in LA, and
That's right.
we're making movies.
that.
It just had a mind of it. It's crazy.
Grown, it's taken on a life of its own.
Yeah,
And
who
it's
would have
been
thought?
amazing. And it was just obviously a fun idea that had legs, because we're still amazed to this day that we can come up with a joke between a customer and an employee at a fast food restaurant that we haven't made yet, considering how
Yeah.
many sketches we've written in the movies and little side projecty things that we've worked on to try to get off
Yeah.
the ground.
So-
But it's a amazing world, and Kel obviously took it to the next level.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. And that one's kind of, you figure it's pretty near and dear to us. And then, I also liked those two-handers, like the Island Girls. I don't know if you remember that ones with Lori Beth and Elisa, just two complete opposites stranded on an island together. We like that kind of stuff. We like the two-handers with the Randy and Mandy with the chocolate. Always
We
loved
love
that.
characters that are selectively intelligent. So like Detective Dan was always very fun to write. A detective who does not see what's right in front of them.
I think another one that I really enjoyed, and the Loud Librarian.
Yeah, I was gonna
It
say Loud
had
Librarian.
Yes,
kind of
that's a great
it
one.
had kind of a rhythm to it. We would just start it with something a little quieter, and then we would just keep getting louder and louder until it got completely absurd. And Lori Beth she's so great to write for, and she's just an
And
incredible comedic actress. So that one,
I would say oddly, that was one of the ones that when we first pitched it, people didn't like right away. They were like, oh, okay, but why is it funny? And we're like, Loud Librarian. She's a librarian, but she's loud. She's telling people she's screaming at people to be quiet, but she's doing
yeah.
loud things. And they're like, I don't know. So we had to like kind of, it's like they were doing us a favor to let us produce the first sketch. And then once we did, and we shot it in front of an audience, and people went nuts, and it was like, oh, okay, I get it. And we did a lot more of them.
Yeah, and
That was
speaking of
very
Lori
fun.
Beth, I also really like the Vital Information sketch. That was one
Yes,
that I
those
always loved
were,
watching.
yeah.
Those were fun
That
too.
was
Yeah.
not one of our creations, but we wrote most of, we wrote a million of them, but it's like we didn't think of that exact sketch, but it was really,
And
that was one of our
props to
favorites.
Lori Beth, because those are hard. That's a hard type of joke to sell. I think the success of Vital Information is very much on her shoulders. She's phenomenal. And
Oh yeah.
we call it hand off the baton, so to speak, in later seasons. And Danny Tamborelli did a great job with
Yeah, it's great.
um
And we rebooted it and did it again with Reese.
Reese was fantastic,
Yeah,
Cadell.
Yeah.
And but Lori Beth is amazing. And those kind of, we call them like bumpers, the Vital Information, Pierre's Cargo. There was Peter and Flam. There was always these short kind of bits you wanted to have that kind of enabled us to fill out the time of a show, because we never shot like, oh, here's episode 1, here's episode 2. On all that, what we did that I think is pretty interesting is we just shot as much as physically possible every week, and then we kind of broke them out into shows later on. So we always knew we were going to have a cold open, you always knew you were going to have a musical guest, but other than that, you were never quite sure what was going to end up in any given episode.
and a lot of it was
Right.
because we would leave, the sets up. Like if we did a good burger, we would leave the set up so we can do 3 or 4 good burgers before we took it down. So we weren't going to show
Yeah,
them.
and then you didn't want it to air 4 weeks in a row, so you go, oh, we'll put one in episode 1, one in episode 5, and then the cool thing about that was we were shooting about a show and a half a week, as opposed to just a show a week. And we would, Nickelodeon would say, we'll pick up 20 episodes, we'll give you 13 weeks to shoot them, and then somewhere around week 10 we would start doing some math, and we would call the network back and be like, you know what, we've actually already accidentally shot 21 episodes worth of stuff, and they'd be great. Let's we'll extend the order, we'll make it 24 episodes, then that last week let's bring in extra musical guests, shoot some extra cold opens. And so it was pretty fun, cool way to do it.
Yeah, and speaking of sketches, I know a lot of them would also feature like celebrity guest stars. Who are some of your favorites to work with on all that?
Oh man, there were so
We
many.
liked Sinbad, was always great. He was like some of them felt like family members because they would come back a bunch of times, so they felt like they were part of our crew. I'm trying to think who else.
Sinbad was certainly a friend of a show. I remember it was
There were a
always
lot of
fun when the
musical
musical
guests.
guests would appear like in a quick sketch. I remember when the Spice Girls were on, and
Oh yeah.
everybody got really giddy for some reason. And
I remember Kobe Bryant was great. He was when he was
Oh
like
yeah.
18.
Oh
He was the
yeah.
same age as the kids. Or Lori Beth was
yeah,
older.
just about.
He was 19 when he came on.
Hmm.
That was really fun. And like TLC was in sketches with us, and Chris Farley came on, which was pretty awesome.
Yes.
When he was
Oh,
really
yeah.
hot on Saturday Night Live too, and he came on and did a Randy and Mandy, and he was just so one take, and he made
He
sure it
was
was one take.
incredible. He made sure it was one take. We had a big cake at the end, and like the big physical thing at the end was going to be we destroy the cake and get really messy, and get ketchup everywhere. And usually when you shoot a messy sketch or something like that, you kind of shoot up to the point where it all goes crazy, and then you hold because you want to make sure you have everything in the can before you get to that point. And I think first take, Chris Farley just went for it and smashed his face into the cake and was throwing stuff everywhere. We're like, well, I guess we got this in one take. He obviously was used to doing live sketches, so that's how he was used to doing it. And if there's imperfections in the first half, so be it. But that turned out amazing. Though it was a little freaky to watch him smash his face in the cake and then lean back up because he was covered in ketchup too. So it kind of looked a little bit like blood. It was it was slightly disturbing, but but a very funny sketch.
Yeah,
Yes.
really fun.
Absolutely. So for you, Kevin, in addition to writing and producing for the show, you acted on the show as well as Kevin, the stage
What?
manager.
Yeah.
What was
Yes.
that like? Getting to play
Well,
him?
it was about as bizarre as it could get because I'm not an actor. So what happened was
Right.
I love how you say that, right? Because you've seen it.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
but
Clearly.
we were in LA, we're writing and we're pitching. So one time I was just pitching a sketch, and it was The Father. And so we would get very animated, we would read the stuff and act it out. And then Brian Robbins, who was running the show, his show, he just goes, "Hey, why don't you just play the dad?" Just like you did when you read it to me. I went, what? What are you talking about? I'm not gonna. And so we all went to Florida to shoot, and there wasn't this pick of the litter with actors like it is in LA. And so, we're shooting in
There were a lot
Florida.
of great actors, and there were guys that we went to. There were
Yeah, but most of them were like, on
Paul
commercials.
Appel, who's had a pretty
Yeah.
successful career, was oddly one of
Yeah.
the people that was on the show a lot early.
On Saturday Night Live. So at the time, so I'm like, all right, I'll play the dad. And it was like, I think a repairman sketch or something. And I went, which another sketch that I just love, and Coach Cretin, by the way. But so I just ended up in it. And I remember I was kind of nervous. And then the first day I'm acting in my life, by the way, not even in a play in my life, I'm in front of a live audience on a Friday night. And I'm shooting and I'm just going, memorize my line. And it didn't really matter about memorizing the lines because we just stop a lot. So, and I probably didn't have that many. But then from there, we decided that we needed someone on the staff that the kids, like an adult, because we didn't want them being mean to each other when they played themselves in the beginning.
We learned pretty quickly it didn't feel as funny if kids were sort of like hurting each other or being mean to each other. But if there was sort of an adult figure that they could just be brutal to, then it was funny.
So since and the show hadn't aired yet, and so we were collecting sketches and stuff. So we had shot a bunch, and so next thing you know, I'm playing a couple teachers. I'm a dad 3 or 4 times, and this is before we even had the kids playing dads and adults. So they just said, "Hey, why don't you play this guy and put on a headset and pretend you're the manager, and they could just do something to you. They can throw you in pudding or whatever." I was like, "All right, I'll do it." So I did one, and then next thing I know, I'm doing almost every show,
like every episode.
Probably over 100 easily.
Our first run at all of that was 6 seasons, 125-ish episodes, and you're probably getting
the most
physically hurt in 120 of those 125. And it also became pretty funny at some point because we're in a writer's room and everyone's pitching cold. We're like, okay, we need some cold opens. And everyone's like literally just going, okay, Kevin, what if here's one, somebody grabs a baseball bat and hits you over the head. And everyone's just literally pitching ways to hurt and be mean to Kevin.
and they're like apologizing to me. And then I ended up on Figure It Out when they did that show, because one of the executives, it was one of his shows, and they were doing a presentation for it, and they all they make the pilots. So we were shot 2 episodes, and he said, "Hey, would you want to do it? We're going to be shooting it on your stage. Would you be interested? You're considered a Nickelodeon celebrity. Would you want to?" So I did it. And I just kind of took that approach where I didn't really want to guess what the kids did. So I just kind of screwed around a little more, and they liked that. And then next thing I know, I'm on that every day. So it got really kind of out of control for me to that point. And I've never gone out for another role. I've never attempted to act again. And I never did it. Well, I think I showed up as like something that we've done just because we didn't have anybody once or twice, like a paramedic or something. But
didn't they use you in like the Skeeter's crossover or something?
I was in
a role. I'm a really horrible actor, by the way, which is why you do not see me a lot on the show.
But you've still been on camera more than most people in the world. That definitely. You've probably been 50 times. I mean,
I played a hobo a lot, and I played a security guard a lot.
And people don't know, we were both in Good Burger, the original movie. We played clowns. We were the clowns that were sitting there at the car when I don't know if you remember the first movie, but
very well.
Love that movie. So great.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's
so wonderful.
Own it on DVD.
Yes.
And today, by the way,
buy on DVD.
Good Burger 2 is out today on DVD.
No, I think it's out.
Today or
Well, I
the
don't know
26th,
when this airs, but
few days
it's
ago.
out today or yesterday digitally. I think the Blu-ray is coming out in 2 weeks or next,
Ooh,
Wow,
Okay,
awesome.
something like that.
That's
Great.
great.
I'll buy a
nice.
copy. I want to see it.
Yeah.
Yay.
They
Yes.
give us one, but
Yeah.
I'll contribute.
Oh yeah, maybe we have some connections. Maybe somebody could hook us up.
So yeah, that was my acting career. You've seen it all, if you've seen that.
When we got to play the clowns, it was a pretty fun, hilarious day because the other clowns that are in there are like union clowns, like for whatever, whatever the rules of casting are,
Oh,
they have
really?
to cast, people that work professionally as clowns. And we came out of like the hair and makeup trailer where we had just gotten made up, and they were like, wait, you guys don't do your own makeup? Like you didn't bring you didn't bring your own shoes? And we're like, no. And then they're like, so they kind of like shunned us all day. They were like mad at us because we like weren't authentic clowns. And it was like a scene like in a high school movie, like where you go to lunch and there's like the jocks and the nerds at the tables. And we went over to go sit with the other clowns, and they all kind of scooched over, so there was no room for us to sit next to them, and it was really bizarre.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's great. So now you also worked on the All That revival. What's it like working with the new cast on that?
It was
Oh,
really
wow.
cool to be able to go back to that world. I mean, that sketch is and was like one of our first loves. It's still like our favorite thing to write. It's where our brains work really well. I love that, like, 1 minute you're in a fast food restaurant, 2 minutes later you're in outer space, 5 minutes later you're in the old west. It's just, it's great and it's creative, and it was so fun to be able to create a new world of characters and work with some amazing talent. And it was
We
fun
brought the old actors. We brought the original actors back. A lot of
and it
them.
was
That's
fun
right.
to like see our old friends and to bring Lori Beth back to do some loud librarian sketches and to bring Kel back to play Coach Cretin. Uh, it was great. It was like seeing good old friends.
Yeah.
Uh, people we hadn't seen in a while. We've kept in touch with a bunch of the people, and Kel we talked to on and off, and Keenan
That's
for
great.
sure. Lori Beth was someone we always kept in pretty good touch with.
Nice.
So it was amazing to be a part of the revival, and honestly, I wish we were still doing it. I wish it was still up and running, but it kind of got killed at the beginning of COVID. We were I think on episode like 38 of the first season of the revival, and it was going pretty well, but
Yeah.
things happen. It's a crazy business, and
Yeah.
it is a big show to produce.
Yeah.
So
And speaking of sketches for the revival, I really like the Good Burger sketch where the Jonas Brothers come in.
Oh
Yeah.
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 that one was
That's a
really
good one.
fun.
Well, it's funny because we worked with Joe Jonas, with the Jonas
We
Brothers for a
worked on
while.
the Jonas
Just
Brothers show at Disney for a short
just
stretch.
briefly, for a very short
Yeah.
stretch. And so we had met them, and Joe Jonas had specifically said that he loved Good Burger, and he always wanted to be in that sketch. And so there he was.
Oh,
It was like
nice.
full circle. It was kind of
Oh,
cool that he ended up doing it. And it was
That's
really
Yeah,
nice.
That's awesome. That's
That's
great.
great.
it
That's
was
great.
cool, like, to see in the revival how excited people were about the original, and we ended up doing a lot of Good Burger sketches, partially because people love them, but also because a lot of the musical guests would be like, I'll be on the show, but I want to be in a Good Burger sketch. So we'd be like, okay, let's figure out
Yeah.
another one. And some of them write themselves. Her was in a Good Burger sketch, and that was great because we just had to have Ed misunderstand her for for 4 minutes, and it wrote itself.
That's nice.
That's wonderful. So while working on all that, you wrote and produced for Keenan and Kel. That's
We
the show we're
did.
talking about.
That
What was
is
it like writing for that?
Well, that was really easy because we knew them so well, and we knew how well they were together because they used to hang out together a lot, and it just seemed like there was a walking show right there. So we worked
They were
on
such a great
we did the
team.
pilot, and in between on a hiatus, I think we wrote it, from all that, and then next thing you know, were going back to Florida and shooting the pilot, and they picked it up, pretty quickly. Actually, I think it was like almost the second season of all that, right? Wasn't it right around there?
Yeah, well, I know. I mean, I sort of know chronologically. We did, I think, 2 seasons of all that. Then the first season of Keenan and Kel.
And we did that all in Florida. So we were, we live in LA. So that just meant we were there doing it back to back. So we were there year round in Florida. So ultimately, there was too many people from LA doing that. So they brought one of the shows here. They brought
Well, we did
all
all
that
that season
first.
3 at the Paramount lot in Hollywood, and then we went back to Orlando to do season 2 of Keenan and Kel, I believe.
Yeah.
And then we came back and we moved into the awesome Nick on Sunset stages for season 4 of all that, and then we finished up Keenan and Kel there, season 3 and 4, or whatever they called it at the time.
And that was another really, and it was just different because you get to exercise a different muscle. Like we had the best of both worlds. We got to do sketch comedy half the year and then do a straight up
Sitcom.
physical,
Multi-camera sitcom.
The rest of it. And with some of the same people, because we overlapped with Kenan Kel, and the crew mostly overlapped too. So it was, and a lot of the writers did. So it was really, really just like a machine. It was just really fun though. So
And Keenan and Kel obviously are so amazing and bring so much to the table and elevate the material. And we always say they make our job easy, but there are a lot of times that we would just write like a sentence like, Keenan is making a sandwich in the background. Kel, whatever, gets his foot stuck in a trash can, and then you just roll cameras and then they would just go nuts for 15 minutes. We'd have to edit it down to something, but they would give you comedy gold.
Yeah, Keenan would be hilarious making whatever sandwich, and then Kel would be hilarious in the background, whatever he was doing.
I mean,
then,
a lot of people like to quote.
In there,
Yeah, people like to quote the "I put the screw in the tuna" thing, and I think on paper that was maybe a third of a page. Like, Kel confesses, Keenan reacts, and then it turned into Kel running through the courtroom, screaming that line at everybody, and it was just very funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you guys used to watch that show or all that, or what's?
Oh yeah, well, so
you guys are young.
So yeah, all that was still airing when I was very little. Well, it was like the newer, the later seasons.
Yeah, it was
where they
seasons.
had a different group of cast, like in the early 2000s. But Keenan and Kel, I mean, I watched that a lot in like reruns and stuff. And of course, when they started airing on like Teen Nick, they brought a lot of the old shows back. I would catch a lot of those.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, I was born in 2004, so those shows weren't really like. Like I mean, of course, later on, I per what those shows are. Of course, I think I did watch out of all the shows that you guys have wide for and everything. I think I did watch a few episodes of Austin and Ally. I mean, I don't remember what episodes, but I mean, it's been a long time since I watched that show.
Yeah.
If you were born in 2004, I'd say you were probably about the right age for Austin and Ally.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So, another one of your most well-known writing and producing roles was, of course, the 1997 film Good Burger. So, I guess kind of starting out in the kind of early stages, like how did that kind of come about?
Well, we were shooting on the Paramount lot, and we kind of always knew, not just us, but just Nickelodeon and Paramount wanted to do a movie based on one of our characters. So we were always kind of going around, which one should it be? Ishboo or Pierre Escargot, and then Ed just seemed like the one that we really wanted to do, Ed. So when we decided which movie, we made an extra long sketch. It was like twice as long as a normal sketch, maybe even longer. And then we invited.
Yeah, it sort of had almost like a beginning, middle, and end to it. It was slightly more significant than a typical Good Burger sketch, and we did it to almost showcase, Kel and Ed and the world, to show like that there was something here that people would want to see.
And we shot it in front of a live audience, so the execs from Paramount just walked from their offices over there, and because we're shooting on the stage, and they watched the audience react, they watched the comedy, and there you go. And they said, make a movie out of this. So and we were very happy that was the one that got to be a movie.
Yeah, no, it was an
Yes.
incredible experience, as we mentioned, and
Yeah.
it's phenomenal that we've gotten to revisit that in the last year as well, the last couple years. Getting to write the sequel and actually have it made and come out has been really incredible.
Yes.
Absolutely, wonderful movies. Now I'm fine enough. Going to a Good Burger 2. What was it like getting to wrote that?
I think we had actually had an idea for a while, and I think we had a meeting with Brian about something else, right? And
Brian Robbins, yeah.
yeah, Brian Robbins, head of Paramount now, director of the original Good Burger, creator of all that. And we were talking about something else, and
Yeah,
at
he was
some point
working
in
like
the meeting,
in a different division, like a family movie division or something at Paramount, right?
Mm.
When we
yeah,
went in.
sure. And
Yeah.
then, but somehow Good Burger came up. Somebody brought up Good Burger, or fans are still loving it, and we said, oh, well, we have an idea for a sequel. And he's like, well, let's hear it. And so we kind of pitched it in the room,
Then he
and
bought it.
yeah, well, we should be making that. So I think we went in to try to sell something, and we left the room having sold something else, which is great. And we wrote it pretty quickly, and then it actually had been sitting there for a short while, and I think it took a minute for the stars to sort of align for everyone to become available to make this film. I don't think it was a matter of like, are they going to make it? It was more like, well, when can we make this? And once Keenan and Kel were excited and on board and had the time in their schedules to actually make this film, it went really fast.
Absolutely. And another thing I also want to bring up is you also both wrote for the 1999 Kids Choice Awards.
Ah,
And
yes, we did.
Rosie O'Donnell hosted. What was
Yeah,
that like?
I believe she did. Well, what happened was, we were under a contract after, like I said, we were working around the clock at Nickelodeon with Kenan Kel and all that. They signed us to a deal. We actually had an overall deal there for 3 years. We had one for 3 years, then for 2 years. And then what happened was we pretty much kept ourselves busy by, like, we would watch other shows and go, hey, can we write a Space Cases, or whatever shows they had.
Hey, can we write an episode of
Like,
100 Deeds of Eddie
sure.
McDowd? Like, we had an
So we
idea for
never,
that.
so
Yeah.
we always wanted to write an award show, and we're like, God, they're so fun, and we went to one and we loved it. We go, God, it would be fun to write, just banter and think of bits that they can do. So we just threw our hat in the ring, and they said, sure, go ahead. And
I think
so
we,
ended
I
up
don't know
writing
what it says on our IMDb or anything, but I think we ended up writing maybe for
a
three,
couple of them.
I think at least 3 of the Kid Choice Awards.
Yeah, we've written for
And
a
it's a
bunch.
different kind of writing, because it's really, we would always try to come up with bits that could take place at any point in the show and involve anybody. There was always a lot of like people running in panicked, like, this actor wants to, introduce an award with this actor. We have to write a bit for them, and it has to be really specific to them. And we would try to come up with stuff that was sort of like, well, if Jonathan Lipnicki backs out, whoever steps in, we can still use the bit we wrote. But that isn't always the case. There's always a lot of moving parts in a big award show like that, and it is kind of fun to see it all come together behind the scenes, because it is a pretty huge event. And they used to be really, and they still are. They're fun to go to.
Yeah.
Everybody loves the slime.
Oh,
The
yeah.
audience
Yeah.
members. There's
I mean,
like,
who doesn't?
there's
Yeah.
a splash
right?
zone for sure, and kids beg to like sit down in that area of the theater where they're going to get just doused. And the after parties used to be a blast, and they were really fun and cool events to work for.
I feel like I was sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to quickly
No,
say
go ahead.
one thing I always think about is I feel like that's pretty much like every Nickelodeon star's dream is to, like, when they go to
Oh, yeah.
Nickelodeon to get slimed.
Oh,
Rite
boy.
of passage for
Right?
sure.
Rite of passage.
When I was on Figure It Out, I got slimed, 4 times a day. I mean, we did like
I'll figure it
3 or
out.
4 times
Yes.
a day.
Yes, I
Yeah.
remember that show.
I would literally get slimed like so many times, and from all that, I would be in like pudding, and it was just a thing, and that's what everybody asked me. What's slime feel like, and what is it, And I could tell you this: when they did it on Figured Out, they would make it cold so we would react more. So they would make
Oh,
it
yeah.
Very
slime
nice.
cold. and
Uh,
it, and
That makes sense,
and
yeah.
also it has to be edible, because if it gets in your ears, your mouth,
Yeah,
so
course.
they would
It
make
can
it
be
at
toxic. Yeah.
there'd be like a
Yeah.
combination of like pudding and then some stuff that didn't taste so great. So
It kind of
sometimes,
smelled good though. I could smell
yeah,
it right now,
yeah. So can I. Believe me, I think
Yeah.
I still have some on my person. I got so much on me,
physically in your nose
but it
canal.
was really, I guarantee I've been slimed more than most. I don't know how many people have been slimed more than me that haven't been on Figured Out, of course, but
You know, when you work on those kind of award shows, or like you were just saying, like people like are excited about getting slide. Like when people come to play at Nickelodeon, I think they're generally in really good spirits and really there to have a fun time and play ball. So we never had a lot of that drama, like of like, oh, this celebrity guest is coming in and they're being difficult or demanding or asking for this or being mean to the kid. It's like everybody came in like, hey, let's have fun. I'm here to play. And I think people always bring their best game face when they come
yeah,
to be a part of Nickelodeon and Disney
Oh,
as well,
yes,
yeah.
absolutely,
the family television world.
definitely.
Absolutely. So, speaking of Nickelodeon, you also wrote for the Nicktoon KaBlam.
Mhm.
Yes.
What was working on that
Well, that was
show
another thing
like?
during our deal. We just started going, oh wow, what a great, unusual, interesting show. And so we ended up writing, since they had different, I don't know what you guys know about that show, but they would format, the format was they would show different styles of animation from like stop action, stop motion, clay.
Animated variety show, right?
So,
Animated sketch
so
show.
it was pretty much outside submissions, So we tried to write the wraparounds. So there was these two hosts, Henry and
Henry
June,
and
and they would
June, we wrote a
they
lot of
kind of
their
kept
wraparound.
Mm-hmm.
the show running so that we would take on like a whole show worth, which you're writing like 7 or 8 of them or something, and you'd write these little quick bits. So it was like writing like almost like 30-second sketches and really fun little with like a little through story. So it was really fun, and we did a bunch of those.
And I
And
think we wrote some. There was like one of the segments was Sniz and Fondue. I feel like we wrote some of
yeah,
those, or at
Oh, yeah.
least
I do too.
like outlined some. I really liked. There was an episode of KaBlam where we came up with the idea of the KaBlammies, where they were giving it was like an award show,
Oh
big award
yeah.
show,
Hmm.
And we
and
wrote music for it, and we did a whole thing.
we
It
wrote
was
music for it. And I collect. I buy a lot of records and stuff. And I think one day got an email from something like limited edition vinyl, something Nicktoons. I was like, oh, that's kind of neat looking. What's on it? And I'm looking on it, and I'm like, oh, there's a song we wrote on this record. Like I never knew this existed. How could that be? And I tried to buy it, and it had already sold out. So I emailed the
Oh.
head of the record company, like, hey, I'm actually involved in this. Do you guys have any like spare copies? And they were like, no, sorry. I'm like, all right. I was trying to track one down. I think they re-released it on a different color vinyl later, and I got it. But
And if you guys don't know what records are, they're just the big round.
Mhm.
well, I think
Oh,
now people know what records are. They don't know what CDs are anymore, right?
right. Oh
Right,
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
vinyls.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, we did that, and that was really fun.
nice.
And we did all that while we were doing, Keenan and Kel and all that, whichever one we were
Mhm.
working on, because it
Right.
was just,
And I think we had our overall deal, which is sort of like, you get paid a certain amount, and here's the rates you get paid for what you're doing. And the idea was really just to kind of keep us, you know, locked in while we were doing Keenan and Kel and all that. And then, but we kept saying like, "Ooh, look, let's write another episode of this. Let's write this." And our lawyer kept saying like, "Why you don't have to do more work? Like they're paying you
yeah,
anyway. Like why are you doing the extra work? You don't have to." We're like,
we just
we
really enjoyed it. And we,
creative. We're both insomniacs. We don't sleep. A lot of that stretch when we were in Orlando, maybe until the last year, I think they had us as roommates. So like we were, had this 2 bedroom. I'd walk out to the living room in like 3 in the morning because I couldn't sleep, and he'd be out there. And I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing?" "I don't know." And we were like, "Hey, let's write a sketch. Let's write a this." And so yeah, we
yeah.
work a lot.
And we also just really liked the shows on Nickelodeon and the voice of the network, so anytime we can contribute or write even a commercial for Nickelodeon, we would do it,
Nice.
because they had their own in-house
It
commercial.
was the heyday of Nick. It was a
Yeah,
classic
Ah,
time, and it
yes.
was a great place to
The
be.
golden
The
age.
executives at the
yeah,
top were spoiled us. They were creative and collaborative and supportive, um, and really just a joy to work for and to hang out with.
yeah.
Absolutely. So going forward many years later, you both also got to write different hour-long specials for Nickelodeon. Like there was a Christmas one,
Some of my
summer
favorite
camp,
things. Yeah.
Valentine's Day. What
Yeah.
were
We did
writing
like
those
4 or 5
like?
of those. That was just great.
Those were beasts. Those were really, really huge
Hardest things
productions.
we've ever done. I would say it used every skill we ever like learned in the business. We couldn't have done them had we not worked for already 20 something years because we did a lot. It was
It combined sketch and it kind of had through, but it also combined like sort of through lines, and then there was like musical numbers and
it was
all
just
kinds of stuff going on. And we love doing them. I to me, it's like, oh, that would be a cool thing to do once a year for whoever wants to do it. But like
and then
incorporating
yeah.
the casts of every single one of their shows and figuring out how to use them and when you could shoot them, the scheduling alone was such a bear. And then getting some guests. That was the first holiday, the first I guess it was the Ho Ho holiday special that we came in and did. That was our sort of like return to Nickelodeon. We had been at Disney for a long time, and I think that was the first thing we did going back
Yeah,
over to
I think so.
Nickelodeon after we had wrapped Austin and Ally for Disney Channel. And it was like, oh, we have this idea. We wanted to kind of do like a holiday special using some of the cast of all the shows, and it's a little sketchy. It's musical, and you guys seem like something that would be up your alley. We're like, yeah, let us see it. And then it just turned into this big giant thing, and then even having the whole thing framed as sort of wraparounds of a story being told by like these elves at the North Pole, which we kept going. Even like when we did the Valentine special, the Valentine story was still being told by elves at the North Pole, just at Valentine's Day. But it was fun. I think we even wrote a Halloween one that we didn't end up
Never got to shoot it.
producing, but I don't remember why.
Yeah. We never got to shoot it. It must have been a financial thing because they were majorly expensive. They were
Yeah,
just
we did
off the chart.
the Ho Ho holiday one, and then we did two at once. We did the Not So Valentine's special, and then it was like a summer one, right?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was called. And then after that we did do another like kind of Christmassy special, which sort of a much more stripped down, scaled down version of what we had done. It was more of like a simple through line, and it was a more traditional variety show, and a lot of it was just shot like on virtual screens. And Jojo Siwa did a big musical number, and it was a different tale for sure. But those
Interesting.
big giant ones were fun to do.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So moving on a bit to your work with Disney Channel, what was it like
Yeah.
getting to work on Sunny with a Chance?
Oh, well, let's back it up a second because we started
Before
there.
that, yeah.
Before that, that's when we were working with the Jonas Brothers, and that was very briefly, but I guess they knew they were bringing this sketch comedy show there because it was like part sketch, part show, behind the scenes of it, Sunny was. And so they're like, who better to come in and write the sketches at the beginning of the show? Because we had pitched to them that they should open each show with a sketch. So we left the one show and then we went on there and we started writing sketches for the show. And then they decided that they didn't want to do that because I guess it's a cost prohibitive thing because it's very expensive just to set up a set just to do a sketch in it for 2 minutes.
Yeah, that you can't use
So
again.
then we ended up writing on the show and then we just started writing episodes and just for like a half a season or something. And then we sold Austin and Ally. So
Nice.
it was kind of like a holding. We were kind of like circling because we
had sold
done
a pilot script idea about
Yeah.
like a young like a secret agent that was very like Get Smart meets Naked Gun. It was very broad and slapsticky. And I think when Jonas Brothers first had a show going at Disney Channel, it was going to be them as spies, and I think there was some overlap in sort of what we'd already pitched. And so while we were sort of in a holding pattern while we were writing other pilots for Disney, they're like, oh, well, how about why don't you guys work on the Jonas Brothers show? Then the first writer strike happened, not the first, but the last writer strike before the last writer strike. And during that time, Jonas Brothers like blew up. They went from being like a popular band to being like just a massive band. And at that point,
Oh
I
yeah.
think Disney felt like, well, we can't just have them being goofy spies. Like, it needs to be a more grounded show about brothers in a band that love each other, and that's great. But the show definitely changed from the show that we got hired to work on to the show that we were making day to day. And then I think around that same time, Sunny with a Chance got greenlit, and I think we had consulted on that pilot as well. So it was almost like a trade, like we got traded from like the Cleveland Indians to the Montreal Expos or something. But
Mhm.
but it was
Yeah,
on. So
well,
then we worked on that, and I think Austin and Alley came pretty quickly on the heels of those.
Yeah.
and the Jonas, I mean, the Jonas series is a neat little, show. The Jonas Brothers just want, but kind of more what the band is, or what the how the brothers are, and then just it's a neat show for having that on the kind of for that channel blog, which I think that was really cool for
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have
and they
their
remember
own show. And
one of the weird stories that I take with me from that, one of the weird memories is we at the time we were working on it, Joe Jonas was dating Taylor Swift, and she used to come to all the table reads and sit right next to. She would just be there at every. Now she's like the biggest star in the
oh
world. It's
wow,
very,
huh?
very bizarre
Yeah.
when I think about that.
but they were cool, and they were they
Great,
were
great, great guys.
and really like pretty down to earth considering what was going on in the world at the time.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Good
definitely. And
parents. They have good parents because they were real good kids and good actors too.
Well,
So
we say that a lot in this business, that like you meet the kids, and they, and then they're great, and then you meet the parents, and pretty quickly, like, oh, this kid, some of them have better grounding than others, and so it's a tough business. It's tough to have some success at that age and land on your feet, and you kind of know fairly early in the process, like, which kids are going to turn out okay and which ones are going to have some
yeah.
problems here in life.
We've been fortunate to not be around too many problematic things after all the kids we've worked with.
That
And
is
it's
true.
it's interesting because when we were doing these two shows, I kind of lump them kind of together. We were just kind of hired guns. We weren't in charge of them. We weren't running, as we were when we were running like Keenan and Kel and all that. So it was a whole different experience for us while we were kind of waiting to get our turn to run a show again. So we were just kind of hired guns there and wrote a few episodes and punched up some stuff, whatever we did, and then until we sold Austin Alley. And then
right, and that's actually a perfect segue into the next question. So with Austin Alley, what kind of went into initially pitching the show?
well, that was an easy one for us because we just kind of were doing this odd kind of sitcom math, and we noticed that there hadn't been any uh, real sitcoms for kids that had a female and male lead. And we were kind of like, huh, there really aren't many. So, and it'll appeal to more kids, and and we really wanted to do this musical show. And
We kind of joke. We used to say, like, we had an idea for a show called Alley, about a shy songwriter who works at a music store that her family owns, and then we had a separate idea for a show called Austin about a overnight internet sensation pop star, and then went and like combined them into one show, and that's a bit of an exaggeration, but not a total 100% exaggeration. We love music. I've always played music for years. A lot of the shows we've worked on, we've incorporated musical elements or written really funny, goofy songs for. So it was kind of a no-brainer to want to work in that space. And once we kind of landed on that idea of teaming up the shy songwriter with this pop star, the show really took off. And then giving him the ensemble, like the almost creating
yeah,
two comedies within that.
and that was that was also very interesting because we sold that one over the phone. We just called. We happened to be able to talk to the powers that be that could actually greenlight a show like that, and we were asking them, "What are you looking for?" And we just had them on the speakerphone. I remember, and they told us, we really would like a musical show, and so we just pitched it to them
We're like,
right
we have,
there.
yeah.
And they bought it, and that was very weird.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's a show where like the casting was phenomenal. Like the fearsome foursome that we had, uh are just amazing, and I can't imagine anyone else ever playing those roles. And they all were incredible humans that we love and are still friends with to this day.
Oh yeah, we don't go too long without hanging out with them or seeing them, you know.
It was definitely a lightning in a bottle. There was definitely a magic that happened when we got those four together.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love that show. I actually, not too long ago,
Yeah,
I
me
actually
too.
binge watched it on Disney Plus.
Oh,
Oh,
fun.
Yeah.
I need to get Disney Plus because I want to see it.
Mhm.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, you
Good.
should. But yeah, Austin Alley is it's such a wonderful show, and really and there's lots of great episodes in that show. And I'm kind of wondering, are there any episodes of that show that kind of stick out? Some of your favorites that you wrote?
Oh my, well, you know, the pilot for me, because maybe because I had to watch it 84 times, but you know, because when we were making it, just oh my God. But I just thought it was like a really, for us, a really perfect pilot that just kind of helped set up this whole world, and it showcased all four characters and just gave us such a blueprint for
It
the
was such
show.
a great
That's
template for what the
still
show
my
would
favorite
become.
episode.
Well, you know, and a lot of times when you write a pilot or when you're developing the series, or like even as you're working on season one, sometimes you don't really find the voice of the show until like 10 episodes in. Like sometimes it's like, oh, here's what I think the show's going to be. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, here's what works, here's what doesn't work. And I would say that out of the gate, there was a lot of magic that happened in that pilot.
Yeah, and we took a big risk with it too because we shot it in front of a live audience, which a lot of pilots just don't do because you know
For a lot of
it
reasons,
takes longer to
it takes up more
shoot,
time. You
and
have like a
the
4 hour
audience.
down period where you have to like set up for the live audience. And when you're working with actors that are under 18, you only have a certain amount of hours to work with them. And they're like, are you sure you want to waste 4 hours loading in an audience? Like when you could have that time getting extra takes of scenes. And we're like, you know, we believed in the cast and we believed that they would elevate
Yeah,
and you know, give performances that were, you know, bigger in front of the live audience, and it really
and,
paid off. And getting to see that
and
audience reaction in real
oh my
time.
God. When the audience was reacting so like as if the show had been on for 3 years, and the executives were there, you know, and you could just point to the audience and go, look at this. They're loving this show. We haven't even cut it yet. We might not even keep those lines, but it's geez, and it went so well that they picked it up really, really quickly. And we didn't change one thing when we aired it. Most pilots change something, a character, a scene. I mean, nothing. We aired it as it is, as we shot it. And so we knew we had something there, and it just kind of kept getting better. And I'm trying to think of some of the episodes that I really
I have
liked.
to
And
go back and watch more because it's been a minute since I've seen some of the Austin and Alley
I do
episodes.
know we used to do Halloween episodes every year. We did like four of them, and each one
Yes,
we would
those
do
are
more
always good.
Oh
sketches,
yeah.
which we really
Yeah,
loved.
And that was
And
fun because we got to be
for
sketchy.
us, it was great to showcase what our cast could do because they were kind of limited to these characters. So we were like, hey, if we could put them in other things, it's just fun for them, fun for the audience, fun for us. So those were always great.
You
I
know,
love.
I always enjoyed, I think there were episodes where we were sort of able to play with sort of the mythology of the show, where I think we had Des was making a film of the Austin and Alley story. So it'd be sort of these
Oh yeah.
oddly fictionalized versions of things that maybe you had seen previously on the show with some differences. And to me, that was always really kind of fun to be able to do that. And I think we got to revisit some of that in the finale. I think the episode where Austin and Ally first kiss turned out to be a pretty special, amazing, difficult episode to produce. And oddly, one that we kind of pushed back a little at a point because when we went into the show, our intent wasn't necessarily let's have Austin and Ally kiss in episode 16. You know, I think we
We
even
didn't
made a
need to
joke.
have them as a romantic
Yeah,
couple.
we're like
Already
we thought
working
there was
together.
enough dynamic in the relationship of the songwriter and a pop star where you could be jealous over other songwriters coming or whatever it was, that we didn't need to get them romantically involved. And the network was like, get them involved now, get them involved now. You know, like, okay, hang on, you know. And so we found a really, I think, appropriate time to tell the story and earn the relationship. Um, but so that was incredible, and I think that relationship ultimately did win over the fans, and I think that's we had a really, really strong, passionate fan base that really supported the show, and I'm not sure they would have been as passionate about the
Hey,
show
it's here.
if
I
that hadn't
thought I
happened.
would-
Look who it is. Surprise.
I thought I would show
Yeah.
up.
Surprise guest.
Hey.
DJ Bob Wankel
Ah,
once
Did
again.
you guys know Bob showing up?
Ah,
You just
yes.
what did you break
Yeah, we
in
knew.
with the
Yes.
They give me the keys.
you hacked in.
Yeah, he has an honorary
you,
key.
buddy.
Wow.
I thought I'd come in and say hi.
Yeah,
Hey, good to
had-
see you.
we passed on your hello, and now they don't have to. Hey, man,
Eh.
how are
Nice
you?
to see you. How are you?
It's been a little bit. I've been good. How are you guys?
We're
Good,
doing
good,
good.
good.
We got to see you for a minute during the press junket for Good
Yeah,
Bird
that
Review.
was yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's great seeing you again, Bob,
Yes.
coming on.
Yeah, how are you
Yeah,
doing?
I'm gonna hang
Surprise.
out for a little bit. I hope you don't mind.
Okay.
No, I don't mind at all.
Yeah.
I don't mind at all.
No
See,
worries at all, buddy.
See,
No
folks,
worries.
you do learn stuff on this show. You do.
A lot.
Yes.
Which is why I've been on the air for so long. So going back to Nickelodeon, two of your most recent or more recent creations, I should say, were the Nickelodeon series Cousins for Life and Warped.
Yeah, love them both.
yeah.
Oh boy, yeah. Well, Cousins for Life. We'll start this since that was first. That was that was like the first show when we came back to, right. We did the specials, and then we did that show.
I
And we were-
believe so. I think we did a sketch comedy pilot
that didn't go. Yes.
that did not go, and then
Should've
we did
still been-
the Cousins for Life pilot, and that did go. And then I think we did 20 episodes of Cousins or 21. I
Something
don't
like that.
remember.
Yeah, somewhere around
Um,
there.
It was that one of those two.
They just don't make. Yeah, that was a frustrating one because both of them were pretty frustrating because.
Well, really proud of both
Different
shows, but
reasons.
frustrating we didn't get to make more of both.
Yeah. And,
You know, as
when
I
we did-
mentioned a few minutes ago, like you really kind of start to find the show once it's kind of up and running. And I think Cousins for Life had some growing pains, but some very nice pieces in place to set up like a show. And I think we had just sort of really found our rhythm, and people were really gelling on making that show right at the point where it stops. And it's like, it's frustrating you can't use, you know, what you've learned to go make that second season that you know is going to just be better and great.
Yeah. And it was a long first season, but and they had a change of regimes over there at Nickelodeon. They had a whole new out with the old executives, all the new president at Nickelodeon, and so they didn't want to keep making that show. They just wanted to start some fresh things, and it went away, and it was kind of a bummer. And then when we sold Warped, we wanted to work with one of the actors from the New All That, and we had the privilege of working with Kate Godfrey, and so we wanted to do a show around her, and that's how that started. So we sold that comic book store, and that was another. It was a really tough show. The pilot was great, and it was kind of like Austin and Ally, where the pilot was kind of perfect for us, and it set up so many things. And then you know, we shot that show during COVID, which was. It was just impossible. It was so hard to do.
I remember that's when I met you guys.
Yeah.
Right in
Really-
the midst of that.
I
It was
love
really
the show.
difficult.
Again, the cast is incredible and amazing humans, and were so good on it. And I feel like we just created such a fun, exciting world. And you know, unfortunately, I think people aren't watching terrestrial television. Is that what they call it? Like they used to be.
Network.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
A lot of
so
it's on streaming
hard.
now. A lot of people watch streaming.
Mhm.
Yeah, and for what
We didn't have any deal. We had no streaming deal, and that was part of our issue. So we had no.
it's a little inside
Not
baseball, but
sharing.
for whatever reason, there was sort of a deal in place that sort of said with Warped, it couldn't air on any streaming service until 18 months after it aired on Nickelodeon proper. And in this day and age, I think it's really impossible to find any kind of audience unless you're on streaming, and unless all the episodes are up, and unless you could binge. You you know, and then if there is a quantity of shows, even if it doesn't find the audience at the time, you always have that opportunity to find an audience, you know, a year into it or 2 years into it. And
Right.
you know, I think we built a really incredible world. We pitched it as like, you know, if Comic-Con were a show, it's like everything that everyone is excited about in pop culture, you could lean into on this show. And that's makes sense. And people were excited about it. And you know, the network was happy with the show. I just think ultimately it was hard to find an audience and maybe validate making more of them. But you know, it is frustrating for us because you get up and running and you fall in love with your creation. You work on it enough to the point where you're deeply in love with it, and then that's when it gets torn away from you.
Yeah.
Everything you start working on has an end date, and that's, you know, that's a bittersweet fact of the business. And
Yeah, it's one of the only jobs where the first day you start, they hand you a piece of paper and it tells you what day it's ending, you know, because you're looking at a
Yeah.
schedule and you're like, oh, great. And then you're just hoping you can come back again. So it sucks, but it's exciting and it's great. And we chose that for a living. So, you know, what are you gonna do?
and there's nothing we'd rather do.
Exactly.
All right.
Absolutely. So, since we're very close to wrap things up very soon, can you share any projects you both currently working on?
I don't know what we're allowed to say. It's so weird because we have like three things going on.
NDA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of them I know we can't. Oh boy, we just turned in a movie and I don't think we can talk about it. And then we have enough, like we couldn't talk about the Good Burger 2 for the entire time, by the way. We just couldn't talk about it. We couldn't mention it. We couldn't.
Oh,
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
really, really frustrating.
You
And we're still
Yeah.
kind of having these frustrations with
you
these other
knocked
projects.
it.
What happens is so many things out there are like IP these days that
Yeah.
you have to like you just have to keep your mouth shut until it either gets made or so we
I
just
will
turned.
say there's nothing concrete officially happening or being greenlit or being made, but I would say that based on the success of Good Burger 2, uh, there are always going to be discussions about how to mine IP for the future.
For that show, for that particular project. But then we have another movie for Paramount that we're writing, and it's just an original movie, and we're starting up very, very soon. And
Nice.
then we have a pilot that we're selling that we think we sold, and then we're going to be doing that.
Oh,
So, but it's
nice.
just at a pilot stage. So you
We
don't want
love
to get
Awesome.
too crazy.
movies. We love doing TV. We love the day-to-day of TV production. Just the grind of it. So it would be great to get another show on the air, and we're hustling to
Yeah.
do that. We are, you know, getting paid to do a couple movie projects at Nickelodeon Paramount Plus, and so we will see if anything comes of any of that.
Yeah.
Nice.
We are
Nice.
happy
Well,
to be
stay
working.
looking forward.
Sorry, we have
nice.
to be
Great to
so
hear.
vague.
We're looking forward to
Yeah,
those.
it's fine.
Nah, it's fine.
No worries. No worries at all.
No worries. So to end this off, so the last question I'm going to ask is a question we ask all of our guests at the end. So this podcast is called Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. When you think of nostalgia, what do you think of? Or in your own words, how would you define the word nostalgia?
Wow. That's, I mean, I would say nostalgia is anything that I look back at fondly, really. And I consider my whole career kind of nostalgia because people keep coming up to me and saying how it affected them or, you know, young and old. And so for me, that's what it is. It's something I look back at fondly.
It's a happy memory that, you know, brings you back to that a time and place. You feel how you felt back in that moment when you were first experiencing that joy, whether it was watching a TV show as a 8-year-old or listening to a record as a 17-year-old. And it's easy to look at something or smell something and be magically transported back to that moment in your life. And it's a great feeling.
Yes, definitely a great word to end on.
Thank you guys for having us. This
Yeah,
is
thanks
a
for
lot
having
of
us.
fun.
Kevin and Heath,
Time.
thank you.
Pleasure.
Sorry
Thank
we
you so
had to-
much for taking the time to do this. This is
Yeah.
a blast.
I
God, we
know
were
we
finally
went
able to
back
make
and
it
forth.
happen.
Yeah,
I'm so
after
glad
just
that-
pushing it off for an entire year.
After the
Yeah.
strike, and then
I'm
this.
so glad that I
strikes
was
and all
able
that.
to. I'm
Boy,
so
that
glad
was
that
a-
I was able to introduce you to these.
Yeah,
guys.
thanks.
Yes, thank you, Bob.
Yes.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
the
Bob.
strike was
You
definitely
guys.
You're the
an
best,
odd
buddy.
time.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
All right,
To make it
fellas.
happen. And thank you so much for what you've done over
Thank you,
years.
guys. Can't wait to
be
see
part of
it.
our lives and keep up with what we're
Oh.
doing now. And kind of what's next in store for you.
Yeah, we'll come back on and talk about it whenever it becomes.
Yes.
time.
About more
Yeah,
projects
yeah,
later
sure.
on. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
we will.
absolutely.
You'll be the
Yeah,
first.
absolutely
absolutely.
be down.
Or
And
even
Bob.
for even just for a press or something.
Yes.
Yeah, we would
Yeah.
definitely love to
Yeah.
do that.
We have
Yes.
some teaching.
Well, enjoy the rest of your day, Kevin and Heath. I'll
Okay.
let you both know when this
Bye, you
goes
guys.
Yes.
Hi guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you, Bob. See you guys.
See you guys.
out.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, it's goodbye from us as well. We absolutely enjoyed our time with Kevin Kopelow and Heath Seifert.
Yes.
Yes.
Amazing people.
A lot of us grew up with the projects they worked on, like All That, Good Burger, Keenan and Kel,
Austin and Alley.
Austin Alley.
whole bunch of things. But yes, and if you want to check out their work, their shows are streaming. You can stream All That or Keenan and Kel or Austin and Alley on whichever streaming service you prefer. And as always,
Yes.
keep on the lookout for more wonderful interviews coming your way. And as always, what do we say, Jake?
Yes, thank you so much, Bob, for be here as always. And of course, their
course.
social media in the description down below. And of course, keep nostalgia alive. Okay, everyone. See you next time. See ya. Bye.
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 Thank you for tuning in to another wonderful Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show interview. Be sure to follow Jake and the crew on social media and stream the show wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And as always, remember to keep nostalgia alive. Bye-bye.